Convene, sir.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Let's just do a show of hands. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4.
We reconvened at 6:43. Alcohol license rezonings, variance, modification cases for motion and vote only. Number 19, the first case is request council approval of an alcohol license for General Wholesale Company doing business as General Wholesale Company for an alcohol license for wholesale beer at 300 Villanova Drive, South Fulton, Georgia, 30336. This is located in District 1.
I approve. I move to approve the alcohol license for General Wholesale Company doing business as General Wholesale for alcohol license for the wholesale sale of beer at 300 Villanova Drive.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Morale,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Willis, Councilmember Sebastian,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is
Yes.
approved unanimously.
All right, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 20, request council approval of an alcohol license for Crown Imports, LLC, doing business as Crown Imports for an alcohol license for the wholesale of beer and distilled beverages at 105 Eagle Vista Parkway, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30336. This is located in District 1.
Request council approval of alcohol license for Crown Imports, LLC, doing business as Crown Imports, the wholesale of beer and distilled spirits at 105 Eagle Vista Parkway.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Morale,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Willis, Councilmember Sebastian,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 21, request council approval of alcohol license for Gas Express Incorporated doing business as Circle K, number 230, for an alcohol license for the retail sale of wine and malt beverages at 5955 Fulton Industrial Boulevard, Suite A, Atlanta, Georgia, 30336. This is located in District 1.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Request council approval of alcohol license for Gas Express doing business at Circle K for the retail sale of wine and malt beverages at 5955 Fulton Industrial Boulevard, Suite, Atlanta, Georgia, 30336.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
It's a roll call vote. Councilmember Morale,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Willis, Councilmember Sebastian,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is item number 22. This is a case U22-006, request council consideration of a special use permit for a boarding school located at 5545 Stonewall Tail Road, and this is located in District 3.
Okay, so I'm going to, well, first I will entertain a motion and we can then open it up for discussion.
Before I motion,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Clerk Cochran on behalf of the Zoning Department. There was an addendum that was submitted to Mayor and Council after the staff report was issued. So just the clarification related to the condition, and our esteemed police chief will, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the police chief will review the proposed security plan for the project.
I move to approve. a boarding school located on
I move to approve U-22-006, request council consideration for a special use permit for a boarding school located at 5545 Stonewall Road with the following condition. Prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy, the police chief shall review and approve a security plan for the purpose of the boarding school.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? I have discussion. Do we have electronic copies of those conditions? Okay, thank you. All right. Seeing or hearing no further discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Morale?
Yes.
Councilmember Gums?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved as conditioned.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 23, case number U-22-008, request consideration of a special use permit for a hair salon located at 5495 Old National Highway, Suite CS. This is located in District 5.
I move to deny U-22-008.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote to deny. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item is denied unanimously.
All right. Dr. Rowell, I see your hand.
I want to clarify something. So on item 21, it says Suite A. I want to make sure it's Suite 100 reflected, because that's what's actually on the building, and they already had a temporary license.
Item number 21.
Okay,
Suite
it's two
100.
buildings, it's two suites,
Two
and I wanted to
suites.
be clear, it's the one that already had the temporary license at the Circle K.
You got that, Mr. Clerk?
Suite 100.
Yes.
All right. Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 24, case number Z22-010. Request council consideration of a request to rezone from AG1 to CUP for 77 single-family homes located at 7500 Hall Road. It's located in District 4.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make a motion to deny this. I don't think it's a development that's suitable for the area. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing and hearing none, please call the vote.
Roll call vote to deny. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums. Yes. Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item was denied unanimously.
All right. Thank you. Please, you're welcome, whoever that was. Please call the vote. I'm sorry. Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 25 under Agenda Items Part 2, American Rescue Plan Act. This item is request council approval to enter into an agreement with Greco Incorporated, doing business as Live Storage/Forward, for an amount not to exceed $115,000 to administer the mortgage and rental assistance program for the city of South Fulton. Funding has been allocated for the ARP FY22 budget and CDRA Professional Services FY23 budget.
Mr. Hull.
Mayor and Council, this is actually a return of an item. The item was initially agendized in May, and after discussions with the City Attorney's Office, it was indicated that we needed to go back and redo the RFP, request for proposals solicitation. And so as a result of that, we reissued the RFP. The city received 5 responses. The most responsive bid was the entity that's indicated in the staff report. And as a result of that, we are prepared, if Mayor and Council approves this item, we're prepared to engage in an agreement with said consultant to start our mortgage and Rental Assistance Program. And as you all know, this has been a long time coming. This is part 2 to our American Rescue Plan. As we waited to get this item, we've been taking notes of individuals who have called us to indicate that they need the assistance. So with your approval, we will immediately begin to market the program and start entertaining applications in the month of October.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been properly
Second.
moved and seconded.
Oh.
Any discussion?
Yes. Mr. Hull, this has been a long time coming. Thank you for your leadership in getting this in motion. When will communication go out on how people in the city can apply? And then the second question is, what mechanisms do we have in place to make sure that people aren't double dipping? Because, you know, the county had their plan in progress for a while, and I just don't feel that if you have gotten mortgage assistance from the county, you should be able to come to the city as well and get the same thing.
Councilwoman Willis, those are great questions. Related to the last question, there is a system that we use to determine individuals who've received funding, and if those individuals have received funding, then they will potentially not be eligible for this particular program. As it relates to when will we start, we are at an advantage because we still have all of our marketing material for the initial program that we launched. And in communications with the communications department, we were waiting for this item to be approved. And so we will go live with the website starting next week. And in fact, today, in preparation for this council meeting, I had a conversation with the consultant to let them know that they were on the agenda for tonight. So we will have a kickoff meeting internally with the consultant on tomorrow.
Okay, Ms. Sala Jones, can you work with communications and getting out some type of press release or marketing material regarding this? And each of us need to be copied so that we can make sure that we can get it out to our residents. Because is this first come, first serve?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Dr. Rowe?
Just devil's advocate. Say a person may have gotten assistance, and I don't know what all the program caps, but they had greater need. So they got it, but they can still document that they were behind on their mortgage. Do you want to preclude them? Because for some people, they could have went as much as a year, and I'm sure most of those programs didn't cover that for a period. Do you have any insight on that?
There are going to be limitations in terms of how much we're going to pay for this program, but the guidelines themselves from the U.S. Department of Treasury Department, actually prohibits us from, as Councilwoman Willis mentioned, double dipping in terms of individuals who previously received assistance that will be able to receive assistance again.
So even if they have more, that you wouldn't be able to help them?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the federal guideline.
Are you done, Dr. Rowe?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I hear them.
All right, I'm going to hear from Councilwoman Gumbs. Did you have a?
I was just going to ask, so if it's the same pot of money, so it's coming from the art, because there are other programs out there, but if it's coming from art, they can't get another payment from another entity or agency. So that's what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the council, how would they feel, you know, we have this work session coming up on the 11th. Would we like to hear a presentation from Forward about how they will do things, and then we let the program go live on the 12th after they do a presentation at the work session on the 11th?
I'm okay with them
I'm sorry,
working
wait,
with the staff.
I think Councilman Sebastian, I'm gonna start with you, sir.
I was just going to say that, just remind me that I sent, requested something for the work session.
Yeah, I don't think.
So I don't want us to get all the rules. Trying to avoid that.
Okay, so we have 2 requests for the work session for October already.
Mayor.
council. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Councilman Willis. If it's the pleasure of my colleagues that it is more important, I think we can push back whatever.
Well, all right, we can figure out how to do it, right? I have items, Madam City Manager has a report where she can make it. It's just, was just asking, would that be helpful? Councilwoman, I'm going to go to Councilwoman Williams only first because she hasn't spoken yet, and then I'll come back to you, Councilwoman Willis.
No, I was going to suggest because, as Councilman Sebastian noted, we already have the items for the work session in October. However, I'm sure if they're maintaining federal funds, they have a report. If they've
Right.
already done this, they have a report, a presentation. I'm sure there's plenty of materials that they can send us. Of course, once they send it, it will be incumbent upon us to read it when we get it, but let's just have them send the information.
Right.
And we can presumably read it for ourselves. And if we have questions, direct them to the city manager or to Director Hall or both.
All right, yes, Councilwoman Willis.
Well, I was going to say something similar. I mean, we're not the qualifying agency, and I don't want to hold up rental assistance for people who need it just so that we can get information, and we're not in the, I mean, we're procuring it out for somebody else to handle. And so, I mean, they can just send us the information and we can read it.
Right, yes, I apologize, and I didn't mean to suggest, again, I don't always consider these meetings to be just for us, right? But if there was some video that explained everything that people could see all together at one time, but if you want to send that and we could drop the video on our various newsletters
Right.
and social media, I thought it might just be good to get a comprehensive presentation of how the process worked. Sometimes people reading documents is, but however you get the information to us, it sounds like council wants to just get it out that way. So if there are no further questions or comments, I will call for the vote.
We have a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Gomes to approve. Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes.
Yes.
Councilmember Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sign the next item.
Next item is Planning and Public Works, item 26, request council approval to transfer $1.2 million from general fund revenue to the Cdra professional services line item, FY22, to pay for outstanding invoices from Charles Abbott and Associates.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for the council to approve transfer of $1.2 million from general fund revenue for the Cdra professional service line item, account 100-7410-52-1200, fiscal year 22, to pay for outstanding invoices.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Councilwoman Willis.
So this is a measure that I am really disappointed, and I know we have to pay it because we're under contract to pay it. But Mr. Hull, I mean, can you please tell this council how much in total fiscal year we have paid for this service? I mean, I have been over and over again for the past 3 years bringing this to the attention of the city manager's office. We could hire staff for a fraction of this cost. This is our building inspector process, and we are procuring this out, and we're paying our vendor. Can you give the total cost?
I can, Councilwoman Willis. As it relates to this particular item, with the assistance of the finance department, we had run reports related to the accounting for what we pay Charles Abbott and Associates. Before I go into detail regarding the specific invoices, I think it's worth noting we need to recognize the agreement that we have in place currently. So as was agreed upon probably back in 2018, 2019, Charles Abbott and Associates takes 50% of all of our proceeds for building permits up to $100,000. 45% up to $100,000. Anything above $100,000 related to building permits, they take 50% of the proceeds. And so there were a couple of months from October through March where the invoices, one invoice in particular, was almost $350,000. The other months varied from $125,000 to almost $200,000. And so when the budget that was prepared for fiscal year 2022, probably in July and August of 2021, we did not allocate enough money because we were unaware at the time of how much the invoices would come in. And so we were faced with a dilemma April, May, June, July, August, and September, which is an invoice that I've yet to receive because we're still in this month, that we are looking to pay an additional $1.2 million. So in essence, we would have paid approximately $2 million, $2.1 million to Charles Abbott and Associate for this fiscal year alone. And it really is predicated on the formula that we've agreed upon. The finance department and I and the city manager's office have reached out to Charles Abbott and Associates to discuss renegotiating the contract because 5 years into the history of this city, we think that we need to rethink how we're doing business. And I recently received a proposal that would allow for the services to come in at a monthly fee of around $95,000. I personally, and in conversations with the finance department, we still think that that's too high. And so we're looking to continue to renegotiate that contract.
And Ms. Sally Jones, before I yield, why hasn't this been brought in-house? Because that's a lot of money, over $2 million a year. And when I went and asked for how many staff members are needed, it was approximately 6 staff members. And so why hasn't this been brought in-house? Why are we paying $2 million for a service that we can hire subject matter experts to do for a fraction of this cost?
Well, first of all, as Mr. Hull mentioned, we're still under a current contract. So if the council, which I do recommend that we try to get out of that contract. And as you mentioned, we can probably do things better and cheaper if we bring it in-house. Mr. Hull and I have talked about a transition plan very similar to what we're doing or have been doing for the last year and a half regarding our Public Works Department, bringing it in-house, building, what type of positions we'll need, what that timeline looks like. So, if it's the will of this council, I would like to work with Mr. Hull and his office and finance, and let's put together a plan to transition, our building inspector services under the city of South Fulton.
So is that contract approved on an annual basis? Our contract is not continuous. It's approved on an annual basis. So we've been approving this contract every year and paying over $2 million every year. And so, I would like to make a motion on the floor that you bring back a recommendation to this council on how to transition this service in-house. This is September, I would say by the November work session.
Is that going to be enough time for us?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And this is a plan. This is not for them to. This is a plan.
No,
for them.
I was just thinking that the recommendation.
I'm sorry, I haven't recognized you, Councilwoman Williams. No disrespect, but I just want to pause. Is it the case, Madam City Manager, that we approve it every year, or does it automatically renew every year?
I believe it automatically renews.
Okay, I just wanted that point of clarification.
And I understand that, but it's an automatic renewal. So we could have, when it came up to the renewal, we could have brought this in house. And I just don't want to belabor, and I'm not going to, try to demoralize anyone. It just makes common sense. If we can save our taxpayers over $1 million, and hire staff to do a service for a fraction of the cost, it just makes sense for us to try to bring forth a plan to this council to get that done.
Okay.
So I'll put a motion on the floor.
This is
There-
a prior motion on the floor.
There's already a motion on the floor. I'm going to just ask, it sounds like we need to have a little more discussion. So before we make any more motions, let's just see if we can get everybody in the discussion. Before I recognize the next speaker, I do just want to get some more
Point of
information.
order, Mayor, I have a motion on the floor. You can't just,
No, there was a
It's not-
there was a
it was one
previous
prior to
motion.
yours.
Yeah, there was
Okay.
already a motion on the floor.
okay.
Okay. Madam City Manager, do we know when the contract ends?
You just said
Yes.
October.
So I can provide some insight on that, which is why the Finance Department, City Manager's Office, and myself, my department, were in discussions about this as early as July. So the stipulations in the contract are that the contract automatically renews at the end of September. However, as you know, our esteemed City Attorney's Office always makes sure that we have a clause in our contract that indicates that
Right.
either party can cancel the contract, terminate the contract with given a 30-day notice. So that provision is in this contract. And so as we have begun the discussions to renegotiate, we wanted to talk to the City Manager's Office and the Finance Department about having kind of multiple paths to go through. One being bringing these services in-house. So the idea could be, as we work through the transition plan, that we could use them use the current contract on a temporary basis, and then when we have that plan fully adopted by Mayor and Council, we could then enact looking at bringing those services in-house and just give our 30-day notice.
All right, thank you. That lets me know when the contract automatically renews. What is the end term of the contract? Is it 2023, 2025?
There was no, from my review, there was no termination date on the contract. It was when either
30
party
days.
decided to terminate the contract.
Oh, okay. Dr. Rao.
I'm
She's
going to call for the previous question.
Second. Second.
Actually, I was in the queue next, but
The question has been,
I've been in the queue.
the question has been called and seconded. I would just ask in the future for council members to give their colleagues the courtesy, after you've gotten your questions answered, that you let other people get their questions answered as well. But it has been called and seconded. So please call that vote.
So vote to call the question. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs, Councilmember Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves,
nay.
Councilmember Williams.
No.
I guess I will cast the deciding vote, and it will be no.
You're not going to pay the bill?
No, this is the
a motion
previous
to call the
question. This
No,
was
no,
this
I
was
was
to
about to
cancel the rest of the discussion. So we're gonna
So, Mayor,
keep
I'm-
having the discussion. And right now, I'm going to recognize Councilmember Sebastian, who has not spoken.
Point of order, Mayor. I did put a motion on the floor. She already had a motion on the floor, so the proper thing for you to have done was ask me, did I want to make a substitute motion?
I'm sorry, if you make an improper motion, I am not required to help you make the proper motion.
As chair, you could have said to me, there's a motion on the floor. Would you like to make a substitute motion?
What I said is that there is a motion on the floor, and that before we make any more motions, let's hear from the rest of our colleagues. Let's let everybody have a chance to talk before we start throwing out motions. That's what I said. My ruling stands, and I'm going to recognize Councilman Sebastian, who again has not spoken on this topic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hull, thank you very much. And thank you for working through this. The issue of the contract being renewable every 30 days, right? We have to go through the process of looking for staff and that sort of stuff. And based on some of the costs that accrue on a monthly basis, we could be well in a hole if we don't find staff relatively quickly. Do we need to renegotiate those terms before we go into what is technically going to be a month-to-month contract until we get the department up and running. Is that something that we can do?
Councilmember Sebastian, my recommendation would be to look at this kind of in different paths. So one option could be to also continue to have discussions with them to renegotiate the contract. In the event that something prevents us from bringing on individuals in a timely manner. Even if we decide to go that path, we will still need to keep them on to carry out the functions of the building department, the building division. But as a kind of caveat to that, there are provisions in the contract that allow us to get out of the contract, either party actually, if proper notice is given. So we can move forward with the path to renegotiate. We've begun those negotiations. We can continue to move down the path of looking at what this would look like bringing the service in-house, or we can just do status quo and continue to pay at the formula that we currently have negotiated in the current contract.
Status quo don't sound like an option. So the other two sound like better options to me. We negotiate until we're able to bring it in-house. That's my personal view. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Reeves.
Certainly, Councilmember Reeves. Charles Abbott and Associates provides all of the basic building services for the city. So this includes all of our building inspections, reviews of permits, including the building permit, but also mechanical, electrical, plumbing permits. They will go and they are part of the certificate of occupancy process. So as a part of that process, as I've been told, for only new construction, they go out and they do an inspection prior to the issuance of that certificate of occupancy. So they are people on the ground that will finalize buildings in the state of the construction prior to individuals allowed to move in. This is for residential and for commercial, industrial, any building that will be occupied. They're chiefly responsible for going to do those types of inspections.
What about the inspections for homes that are being renovated? What about homes for inspections that's being renovated to like add more room to take the house from a 3-bedroom to a 5-bedroom or to a 7-bedroom?
Yes. So they would have to pull building permits, and as a part of that process, after they submit their plans and after the construction work has commenced and is completed, the inspectors will go out to ensure that what's there on the plans is actually there and it meets the building code specifications.
And you said this $1.2 million on the contractual obligation is from what months again?
April through, and it anticipates our bill for the end of September.
And we're contractually obligated to pay them, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Before we go to the next speaker, just to follow up on Councilman Reeves' line of questioning, the 1.2 and 1.2 is actually 2.4 million. We get a lot of complaints about how long it takes to get a permit. Is that on the Charles Abbott side, or is that more, because I know we have staff people as well. I just want to understand where that hang up, how this has been a part of that.
So as it relates to the permit, Mr. Mayor, all permits are issued through the Development Services Division. So they are the permitting division for the city. The actual inspections and the approval of the permits do come from Charles Abbott and Associates, related to, again, building, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical, the traditional types of permits that we issue related to construction.
All right. I'm going to go to Councilman Williams. Yes, Councilman Williams, but I do just, while we're in this discussion about bringing the services in-house, I think it is important to consider that in FY 2023, we are creating a sanitation department and a public works department. We've given our staff a lot to do. In just this meeting alone, we've made nearly $1 million in budget adjustments to our FY23. So we're making a lot of changes. I just want to caution us to not give our staff more than we can do in one fiscal year, and to also consider that when we create all of these things, we got to have places for the people, and we're kind of bursting at the seams. So we just want to move with some moderation. Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you. This batch of invoices that we need to pay, is this the same company from today's email thread?
Yes.
In the contract, this may be a question for the attorneys. In the contract, do we have any provisions for either A, oversight, or B, recourse if we find out later that the work they've performed may possibly be substandard?
Yes.
Are we going to pursue those options in light of the many emails that have come in surrounding this company?
Councilwoman Williams, my response is I have not shared those specific emails with the city attorney's office. We would probably need to do that, but in all actions when the customer, and we are the customer, quote unquote, for CAA, if we're not satisfied with some of the services being rendered, we can either withhold payment or we can have them to redo kind of what was required in this particular instance, a reinspection of the site, and to help try to remedy the situation with residents of our community.
Okay. So we have to pay them because we're contractually obligated, and we have to pay our bills. But I think that we probably should take a look at October and what some of our options may be going forward until we can be satisfied that this situation has been, if it can be rectified, that this is rectified and that they are doing the work, that we're getting $2.4 million worth of work out of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Williams and Mr. Hull, both for your insight and your restraint for this conversation. We've heard from everyone. There is a motion on the floor, so first, before we do any substitutes or votes or anything, Mr. Clerk, would you go ahead and just restate the motion that is currently on the floor?
Point of order. Am I not allowed, attorney, is the chair allowed to prohibit me from making a substitute motion? That seems, that's taking away my right as a council member.
You can make a new motion versus using the term substitute motion, is what I'm being advised.
Okay, that's fine. I would like to make a new motion, Mayor.
All right, you've made your point of order. It has been recognized. Again, before we make any new motions, there is a motion on the floor. Mr. Clerk, could you please restate what the motion on the floor is?
Yeah, the motion on the floor was a motion by Councilmember Rao, second by Councilmember Gomes to approve the item as presented.
All right. Did you have a substitute motion that you'd like to make?
Yes. My substitute motion is to approve the request for the transfer of $1.2 million from the general fund revenue to Cdra professional service line item, and for the Cdra director to bring back work with the city manager to bring back a recommendation to this council to address any concerns that need to be addressed, and a transition plan to bring this service in-house by November, because we're already in October. So I think November, you said would be time, or do you need more time? Thank you.
All right, that has been properly moved and seconded. Mr.
Mayor,
Clerk?
you have two competing motions. You have the first motion you need to deal with, as well as to see whether or not you go to the second.
Well,
Right.
I believe that a substitute
Right.
motion was made,
Okay.
which overrides the first motion, which was really the first motion plus some more stuff.
Right.
What's her second?
No, I did a substitute.
She did a substitute
I
motion.
thought she was.
And Councilmember Gum seconded. So can you please call for the vote?
Is everyone good? Are we ready
Yeah,
to
we're
let me
good.
continue chairing the meeting? Okay. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the, is there any discussion on the substitute motion?
No.
Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the vote?
It's roll call vote. Councilmember Morale?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes? Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Substitute motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the next item.
Next item is item 27, request council approval for purchase of new mobile stage from a single source vendor in the amount of $216,725 using funds that were approved at the mid-year budget, requesting council to award a single source contract to Wegner Corporation, account number 100-6110-542500, and this is sponsored by Parks and Recreation.
I move that we,
I'm entertaining a motion now. I wanted to hear from our Parks Director, but I'll entertain a motion.
I approve purchase of a new mobile stage from a single source vendor in amount of $216,725 using funds that was approved at the mid-year budget.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? I have discussion. Could we hear why this is a single source contract?
Ms. Slayton-Dixon? Okay, well, he was asking about the single source, so that may be more of a purchasing.
According to the purchasing staff, they looked at the item, and according to Parks and Rec, they said this was the only place they could actually get this item, this mobile stage process. So the purchasing staff did take a look at it and sign off on it as a sole source item.
All right, thank you. Could I then ask whomever would answer when the stage would be delivered and where it would be stored, housed?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Once the sole source is completed, it then takes 8 to 10 months for the stage to be built. Our stage will be then stored at our shop now.
Okay. So it would be more towards the end of next summer before this stage would even be delivered?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Seeing Councilwoman Williams has discussion.
Yes, is this going to be the only stage that the city has?
No, ma'am, this will be our second stage. We had one stage that was already with the city with a request to have a second stage, so now give us 2 stages to use.
And given the number of activities and events and the geography of the city, is 2 stages enough to cover the need?
If we work on the scheduling with the opportunity of events, it should be.
Okay.
Thank you. You done, Councilman Williams? All right, thank you. That was an excellent question. I do think we want to make sure that we have as much staff as we have stages, so that we can staff all of these events that we like to do. I will call for the vote.
It's a roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Morale?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Aye. Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
Thank you. Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 28, request council approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Atlanta Department of Watershed Management to relocate water lines in conflict with Project OSI 604 Campbellton Road at Stonewall Tell Road. The City of Atlanta will advance payment, execution of the agreement for the anticipated cost of construction, inspection, and oversight of the work up to $93,738. Public Works.
Go ahead, Mr. Valenzuela.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and residents of the City of South Fulton. The request of this intergovernmental agreement is with the Watershed Department at the City of Atlanta. It is for water line utilities relocations that will be in conflict with the Campbellton and Stonewall project. The Watershed Department has approved this item under the City Council, and it's our recommendation for us to enter into this IGA with them. Payments will be advanced in advancement of the construction of the project.
All right. Dr. Rowell, are you in the queue for this item?
Yes, I'm trying to be.
Oh, well, you are. Go ahead.
Okay. This is in support of the traffic improvements we have at that intersection at Campbellton and Stonewall Tell.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an anticipated timeline? This is a question that me and Councilwoman Gomes get on a regular basis about when they'll begin the construction of that.
The ITV is under the procurement department, and it's our understanding that it should be advertised sometime this week. So we'll go out for 30 days, then we'll do the revisions and come back to council for recommendation on the most responsible bidder on the project.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, please call the vote.
I need a motion and a second.
I'm sorry. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to request
Yeah, that's right.
I make a motion to request approval for intergovernmental agreement with the City of Atlanta of Watershed Management to relocate the water lines in conflict with Project OSI 604 Campbellton Road at Stonewall Tell.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Please, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
All right. Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
We're on item 29, request council approval of payment to Greystone Power for power fiber for relocation costs associated with the relocation of conflicting power lines and poles on the double roundabout project T242 at Butner Road at Stonewall Tell Road. Relocation costs in the amount of $76,150.86 will be allocated from the capital improvement program account, Public Works.
So moved.
I will
Second.
entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, seeing no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Aye. Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clerk, please call the next item.
We're on item 30, request council approval of a contract for acquisition of rights-of-way for federal and state aid project between the Georgia Department of Transportation and the City of South Fulton for Project T277 Cochran Road over Camp Creek Bridge Replacement Project. The City of South Fulton is responsible for 20% match, $30,000, and 80%, $120,000 federal funds of the total right-of-way costs, $150,000 of the project. The 80% will be reimbursed to the city upon completion. Funding provided by the Capital Improvement Account, Public Works.
Mr. Valenzuela, I have one question. I don't know if Mr. Sebastian might have a follow-up, but we had an issue replacing bridges. We got that all worked out. This is going to be completed. The bridge is going to be down for how long and then completed by when?
The project is still under final design. We are still, the goal is to let construction in 2023. So we're going to close the bridge, and it's our goal to have it completed by 9 months. So we have 2 bridges on that road. So the smaller bridge will be going to construction hopefully in the next couple of months. And then we'll follow this one that has federal funds.
Thank you, Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Savannah, as well, there was the idea tossed about of putting a city sign when that bridge is completed. Are we considering doing so? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess if my colleagues agree, you just have to tell us what you need to make that happen. But I think that's an excellent idea as a gateway into the city.
Absolutely, we'll do.
All right.
I move for approval, Mr. Mayor. No more question.
All right. It has been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please sound the vote.
Roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
Thank you. Please sound the next item.
Next item is item 31. Request council approval of the installation of 8 speed tables as a solution to addressing the excessive speed within the Enid Pine subdivision. The purchase and installation of the 8 speed tables in the amount of $30,000 will be funded out of the school zone camera line using District 1 funds. Public Works.
Yay, speed bumps.
That's right.
Mr. Speed tables. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve installation of 8 speed tables as a solution to addressing the excessive speeding within the Enid Pine subdivision in an amount of $30,000 using District 1 funds.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Seeing no yes, Councilman Reeves.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Valenzuela, with these speed tables and the installation of them, have you heard of the speed tables with the smart bumps? Like a solution, because we have communities that ask for them, and I know that, you know, it's not recommended, but with these new smart tables, where if you're going the speed limit, you go over these smart tables, and it's like water. But if you're going over the speed limit, it crystallizes and hardens up into the speed bump.
No, I have not heard at this time, but what we apply for this particular project, we follow the traffic ordinance, and with discussions we're done with the community, we're based on the traffic ordinance and all the elements that program offers. But there's always room for improvement. If we want to amend the traffic ordinance and add additional conditions for as an amenity, surely we can.
Well, okay, and for the edification of the communities that want speed bumps and been trying to get speed bumps, what is that process like? And do we need to change the policy to match what we approved of the funding so that it's not a process as tedious as putting all of the work on the citizens and then having Public Works come out and do the installation? Is there a better way that we can formalize that? Because we have the funding for them, communities want them, but that process is still in place. Is there a new process that they can go through that will be shorter to achieve the objective of getting their speed bumps in their communities?
Sure, there's always a way how to do it quicker, but we want to make sure that everybody's in agreement on what you want to do in your community. not everybody agrees on installation of speed tables. Just for the records, we don't recommend speed bumps. We do speed tables.
Correct.
But not everybody agrees to it, and under the ordinance, we have to verify the percentages that the community agrees it before, after the studies, and before construction as well.
Right, and so, as I see a representative from the Fayetteville Community Action Association down here tonight, and she wants those speed tables, and so that how we could streamline the process. But what I would like to do is use the new technology into those areas to see how those will work with the smart bumps. And I'll send you the information on that as well, so we can take a look into that.
Yes, sir.
All right, and just a point of information for you, Councilman Reeves. I'm actually working with Chief Meadows and Chief Jones on revising that legislation, so I would love to meet with you about that as well and hear about this technology. Councilwoman Willis.
So why is that being revised with Chief Jones? This is a public works issue. I'm asking because I don't understand.
Yeah, without taking us off on too much of a tangent, there are two pieces to that legislation. One is the public works, which is the process, and then the second is the funding for the pedestrian safety fund and for the remainder of the fund. I don't want to take us off task,
Okay.
But it will be in the legislative process. Everybody will be able to read it and make their comments. I just wanted him, because he asked a question about the process, I just wanted him to let him know that discussions are being had about that.
And so I think numerous discussions are being had about that. And so it's going to be interesting. We don't need to have competing legislation. And so we need to figure out a way how we are, because there's numerous discussions about that, Mr. Mayor, and about how we go about getting speed bumps. I do feel that it is a complicated process, but when I did pull the process for other cities, the process is similar in other cities. It's a reason it's a complicated process because it costs a lot of money to, basically, essentially, you're tearing up streets to install these speed bumps. So you need to make sure that there's skin in the game. But I would like to see some type of, if possible, some streamline in a process where there's two communities involved, and how do we go about getting a petition between two communities, and there's a speed bump needed to kind of slow down the traffic when you have two communities sharing a right-of-way or entrance. I would like to also make sure that there's equability in this process, because if you're dealing with a situation like that, it's going to be more cumbersome for that community to get a petition done and in a process to get speed bumps. And while I don't feel like it's fair for one side of the city to be able to use up all the funding. So we need to make sure that we're being equitable and making sure that the funding is in place for every district to get speed bumps, and we need to look at that process again. I understand the tax that Chief Jones have talked to all of us about in proposing, but no, he did not mention any public works projects coming out of that tax. Councilmember Reeves, I do agree. We need to put our heads together, work with the public works director, and figure out how we can try to streamline this process and work with the city manager and the finance team to make sure that there's equitable funds in everyone's district. Thank you.
Dr. Rao.
First, I want to make sure everybody understands we all had the same amount of money to do any traffic calming. I do think we need to look at streamlining it. It took a year to get through this process, But I do understand, because I have about 4 communities trying to go through this process, and you would be surprised, not everybody in the community agrees with having traffic calming. I had one go through the whole process, and then they decided, hey, they don't want it. So be careful about us just dropping traffic calming, because it has been an interesting process to watch communities go through it. The only thing I can really see is maybe looking at some of those percentages, which are very, very high. 90% is kind of high to me. I do think we might need to look at that, but I do think the community should go through a process, because they have to come to some agreement. I mean, I've even heard communities say, well, don't put them in front of my house, you know, even if you get, so it's not as simple as you would think, but I wanted to be clear, and I want Mr. Valenzuela to speak to the fact that every district has the same amount of money.
Yes, ma'am. We have presented to the city manager a plan of action of what we received last year on the, under the 2022 traffic calming through the safety camera funding. So we break that down of what you can do. We already spent some money to do some speed readers throughout the city, and all the studies that you have requested. So every study has to be paid, traffic counts has to be paid, and as we move along with the program, we have to start paying for additional design before coming to this point. So we have not exceeded a district funding, so we stay within that district. And when it comes to the ordinance, yes, I agree that we can take a look at the current ordinance, because the ordinance, what dictates is it calls HOAs. In some areas that you want traffic calming, you don't have HOAs. You have associations and so on. So I look into those things to how we can update our ordinances. That as we go through the process, we discover many things that we haven't taken into consideration. Another point to bring it back to your attention is that that ordinance calls for property owners, not rentals. So there are lots of rentals, so the pictures that is changing very fast. So, and then finally is the liability for the city of what we want to do. We just don't want to install speed tables where it's going to reduce police response and our fire department response and the liability for the city. So we have taken into consideration, and we have looked at many other cities, and when we approved, that was approved about 2 years ago. And now, perhaps we have new bodies in our council. We have taken different approaches, and it will be a good time to start looking at what we have approved before and make an amendment as you desire to do.
Thank you. Councilwoman Williams.
Yes, thank you. Councilwoman Rao brought up, I think, one of the things I wanted to mention about the percentages and how high they are. But do we have a sense, or do you have a sense of how many, I guess, I won't say requests because they're not written, so they're not formal, but how many inquiries into traffic calming, speed bumps or whatever, actually make it through the entire process to completion to having them installed, versus how many are just people, you know, raging against the machines about how they want speed bumps, but they never actually engage the process to get them?
So I don't have a table where we can state how many made through the process, because everybody asks for it, and then once we request the initial petition that's at 80% of the HOA, then we proceed with the traffic counts. Then if it makes the warrants, then that's when we start deciding, yes, your request made the warrants, and we can go to the next step of the study. So at this point, we have two. This will be the second HOA that we will be implementing traffic calming. Others that didn't make the threshold for traffic calming. And then when it goes when you actually go through the approval and meeting with the HOAs, we go into the construction process, which is the percentage is higher, because not everybody agrees to have a traffic calming in front of your house. That's why it goes higher from 80 to 90%.
Thank you.
I'll give you a shorter answer, Councilwoman Williams. Since I introduced this legislation and it passed unanimously in June of 2021, July of 2021, we've only installed one set.
Just two.
This is the second set that would be installed. And for that first set, I did just have a follow-up question because I do note that these are speed tables and not speed bumps, and that is your preference. But speed bumps were put in that first installation in Fife. And so I would just ask you now, how do you decide when you're putting in bumps versus tables? Because Fife got bumps.
So we install speed tables at Fife community and not speed bumps. The bumps is like, it's actually like a hump. At that location, it has a little table, and then vehicles can actually ride smoothly, but they have to still slow down through the process.
All right, we'll have some follow-up discussion about that. Sure. Seeing no other discussion, I will go ahead and call for the vote.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rao, second by Councilmember Gomes to approve this item. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right, please sound the next item.
Next item is item 32, request council approval of a supplemental agreement with QK4 in the amount of $87,466.19 to cover the additional scope and fees required to complete additional design and environmental services on project T266 New Hope Road sidewalks. The funding is provided from the capital account, Public Works.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Clerk, please call for the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
On item 33, request council approval to enter into a professional services agreement with Low Engineers LLC to provide 24/7 traffic engineering support in various capacities and management of the CIP and Splas programs, including the Fulton industrial area. The agreement will be effective October 1, 2022, ending September 30th, 2023, with 3 one-year renewal terms until September 30th, 2026. This item was on the last agenda, August 23rd, for approval. The change was to turn this into a professional service agreement as opposed to a piggyback agreement.
I move that we approve the professional services agreement with Low Engineering LLC to provide 24/7 traffic engineering support in various capacities and management of the CIP and Splas programs, including FIB. The agreement will be effective October 1st, 22 and ending September 30th, 2023, with 3 one-year renewal terms until September 30th, 2026.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Aye. Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
Thank you. I want to thank you for making this conversion. That was a concern that I mentioned in the previous meeting. Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
We're on item 34, second read, and request council approval of an ordinance to amend the City of South Fulton zoning ordinance for the purpose of amending the regulations related to fastening bills, advertisements, notices to poles and trees, and signs in the rights-of-way, and for other lawful purposes. This is sponsored by Councilmember Rao.
Dr. Rao?
I move that we approve the ordinance to amend the City of South Fulton zoning ordinance for the purpose of amending the regulations related to fastening bills, advertisements, and notices to poles and trees and signs in right-of-way, and for other lawful purposes, and would request the effective date of December 7th, 2022, after this election cycle.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Councilwoman Willis.
Did we go back and add that provision to give people 24 hours to remove their signs? We asked, the council asked that we give, once they have been notified, to give them at least 24 hours to remove their signs.
I recall.
Councilman Willis, according to Mr. McClendon, that is in there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
That's fine. And the only other thing that I would like to say that ask for the clerk to send this ordinance to all of the current candidates so that they would know that they will need to remove their signs once the election is over within 24 hours. And the other thing I would like to ask is that Ms. Sally Jones, can you please make sure that this is enforced? We need this enforced because if I can ride through other communities and see nice, pristine communities without bogus signs everywhere, and I'm not just talking about campaign signs because I think they're educational to let people know there's an election. But, I mean, sometimes people just go on a random and put out these bogus for sale, junk car signs, you know, we'll buy your house, all kinds of bogus signs in our right-of-ways, and it's just not very attractive looking. So we really need this enforced. Thank you.
All right. I have discussion. I know that you keep a list, Mr. Clerk, of city council candidates, but I do want to make sure that we also notify, as possible as you are made aware of, our state and federal candidates as well, for which you do not necessarily keep lists of all those qualified candidates. And lastly, I would ask Madam City Manager to consider working with one of your two communications people to do some sort of PSA or public information campaign for just for people to just have general notice of. I just think this is kind of legislation that we probably, want to get on the news and just make sure as many people as possible have as much notice as possible that this is going to be going into effect December 7th.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Willis.
I do totally agree with the mayor because what we do not want to happen is for people to be making bogus claims to our police department that people are stealing their signs out of the right-of-way, because once this goes into effect, signs cannot go on the right-of-way. And so if our code enforcement officer or a resident decide to move signs out of the right-of-way, there's nothing that can be done about that. And our police department don't need that type of, that extra burden to constantly be contacted of people being accused of stealing signs. So I totally agree with the mayor. We need this on the news, in the newspaper, and a robust marketing tool.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
I have a motion by Councilman Rao, seconded by Councilmember Sebastian, as amended to make this policy effective after, I guess, the runoff December 7th. Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gumbs?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously as amended.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
On item 35, second reading, request council approval, an ordinance to amend the City of South Fulton zoning ordinance for the purpose of amending the regulations related to solid waste transfer stations and for other lawful purposes. This is sponsored by Councilmember Rao.
All right, Dr. Rao, and I would just ask if in your comments, if you could talk about how this comports with our new sanitation contract.
This is not directly related. We have transfer stations operating in our city, and our previous code had very limited regulation of them. So I did a lot of research to find out how the cities were, you know, distance requirements, dealing with rodents, smells, all those things. So this is giving us protection for our residents who live in proximity to these facilities.
Awesome, thank you.
And then also it generates money for the city as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Clerk, please sound the vote.
Need a motion?
I'm sorry,
I
go
move
ahead.
that we amend the City of South Fulton zoning orders for the purposes of regulating solid waste transfer stations and other lawful purposes.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please sound the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please call the next item.
We're on item 36 under title Public Safety. This is second read, request council approval of an ordinance to amend various sections of Title 16, Alcoholic Beverages of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances for compliance with state laws to update certain regulations related to the alcohol fee schedule and for other lawful purposes. Please.
All right, Chief Meadows.
Yes, this is the second read, and this ordinance just brings us in compliance with state law.
All right. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? I just do have quick discussion, Chief Meadows. There has been talk about needing to update our alcohol ordinance to in consideration of activities at Wolf Creek. Does this address that, or is there another?
It does not. That will require another amendment. That, along with if the body elects to allow alcohol sales or consumption in any of the other parks. I mean, that's something that would require another amendment.
All right, there is currently a permit that people can apply for special events in parks. Is that correct, or not? I thought that we had something in our ordinance already regarding that.
From consuming any alcoholic beverages in any of our parks.
Okay,
I don't think there was a permit that made an exception to that.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
All right. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote. Did we have a motion? We did have a motion.
It's a roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes? Yes. Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item is approved unanimously.
All right, please sound the last item.
Last item is item 37, request council approval of a resolution accepting donation from Omni Tracks in the amount of $1,000 to the South Fulton Fire Department on behalf of Owens Corning. Fire Department.
Chief Jones.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, yes, we were contacted about a month ago by company Omnitrax. Every year they give a Safe Shipper Award. The recipient this year was Owens Corning Trimble of Atlanta. We referred them to legal to do the process. They want to donate part of their award, $1,000 to South Fulton. There's no restriction on the money. We can use it as we see fit.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve accepting a donation from Omni Tracks in amount of $1,000 to the South Fulton Fire Department on behalf of Owens Corning.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Thank you, Chief, for this amazing work. Please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
That item was approved unanimously.
All right. We have arrived 30 minutes early to our council comments. Let's go in reverse order. This week we'll start with District 6 Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no comments.
All right. District 5 Councilman Reeves.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to take this time to, and special acknowledgement as shout out to our Code Enforcement Director, Brian Morris. He won the Customer Service Award for the Turnkey Solutions. So thank you for representing great and representing the city very well. And to all the constituents, ask not what the city of South Fulton can do for you, but what can you do for the city of South Fulton, and go do it. And I love you, and you can't do nothing about it.
All right, District 4, Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to thank all members of staff that contributed towards making our fall festival this past Saturday a success. Just thanks again to the citizens who came out. Thank you, council members, Royal, Willis, and to you, Mayor, for finally coming to one of my events. I look forward to inviting you to several more. And so we had an awesome time. I also wanted to really give a shout out to even Commissioner Khadijah who showed up. You know, I campaigned and working, having all levels of government working together. And I still believe that is not a dream, that is something that we can attain. I want to thank the citizens that you know came out, and I continue to encourage you to come to these meetings and to participate, because these are public meetings. They're not just for council, but they're for your edification and also your input. And as I said to someone recently, my office is open. My emails are also open. I don't block people. I don't take people off of my email list. If you want to email get my newsletter, I encourage you to continue to email my office and ask to be on my newsletter. So again, thank you all, and thank you, council. I think we had an excellent meeting this evening.
All right, thank you, District 3, Councilman Willis.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, before I give up the floor. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Reeves, for the lovely fruit baskets that you, it's always nice to get a gift when you're not expecting a gift, sir. So thank you.
All right, District 3, Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you for inviting me, Councilmember Sebastian, to your first, I know I can say now, annual Fall Festival. Thank you for bringing that park alive. It's a beautiful park. I love green space, and I'm looking forward to supporting you and enhancing it, along with my other colleagues. I want to thank everyone who came out and participated in the 4th Annual Yeek Dance Festival. It was a lot of fun, and we look forward to doing it again next year. It will be our 5th year, and we plan to make it big and better. It's fun every year. It's almost on the scale, but smaller scale of House in the Park, except everybody's yeeking through the whole park. And we had some black vendors out there who had some neat things. So thank you, Mel, Patrick, for soliciting me to bring this to Welcome All Park. And I want to say, Chief Meadows, hold your head up. I speak on behalf of my district. We support you. I think it was very commendable of you to not only support the investigation done by another police agency, which is usually not done, the GBI is called in, but to require for everybody to do a polygraph. And the investigation facts are what the investigation facts are. And I still stand on the fact that majority of your department is doing a good job. We cannot let one employee destroy all of the good work that you and your employees are doing. I look forward to working with you to getting the facts out and not twisted facts. And I will be supporting you in your Faith in Blue, some of your Faith in Blue events, and look forward to you getting the facts out about this matter. Thank you.
District 2, Councilwoman Gomes.
Well, we have a lot going on in District 2. First, I want to say that we will be having our Wolf Creek Amphitheater Engagement Meeting. That will be a virtual meeting on October the 4th. Of course, we have the Citywide Cleanup Day, which is on October the 15th. Locations are at Merck and Creel Road. Is there another one as well? Is it 3 locations or 2? So make sure if you're doing some fall cleaning, please take advantage of that opportunity. We will be having a gun buyback on 10/15 at the Butner Road Precinct. Also, too, one of our special guests, we will have, DJ food, trying to entice people to come out and bring their old guns or guns that they don't want anymore or guns that are just not safe. So we have Smoke from Field Mob that will be there helping us promote the event. Also, too, we have the Senior Safety Summit on October the 27th. That will be in District 1 at the Southwest Arts Center. That's in conjunction with the police. If you know any seniors, we are busing seniors over, so please get in touch with Captain Tukes if you have a senior or your council member that is interested in attending. They will be learning about fraud and safety and how to protect themselves during the holiday season. Also, too, I have more Keep South Fulton signs available. Please, if you are in need of a South Fulton, Keep South Fulton Beautiful sign, please let me know. We are on a campaign to keep our city clean. Of course, some of you all have seen the billboards. We are really pushing to be a clean, green city. And that's all I have for us right now. Oh, October is Breast Cancer Month. It's also Domestic Violence Prevention Month, and it's also Public Safety Month. So you will also be seeing some additional things, especially for breast cancer and the pink. I love pink. Y'all couldn't tell. I got on green today, but I love pink. But that's all I have. And thank you all for coming out tonight and being engaged.
Thank you, District 1, Dr. Rao.
I want to say a special thanks to all the volunteers who participated in this month's community cleanup with the Cascade Business Merchants Association, and special thanks to Jacobs. We did some pretty amazing work this past week, so thank you for that. Want to say congratulations to Kendall Ray Hart Association on her Green Festival. She celebrated agriculture, arts, and entrepreneurship. When I tell you that was an amazing event, and to see 50-plus young entrepreneurs pitching their business, it was just really wonderful. I stayed, once I got there, I stayed after time. That's how amazing it was. So looking forward that we'll continue to do that in our great city. And last but not least, I want to call on every resident in this city to attend the local option sales tax town hall meeting, which will be held on tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's at the Georgia International Convention Center at 2000 Convention Center Concourse. It's really important that citizens, not just in our city, but the whole South Side, understand the impact that $3 billion in lost revenue will have on our cities as we go through these negotiations with Fulton County. So please come out tomorrow at 7 p.m. That concludes my comments.
All right, thank you. I'm going to start with all of the amazing events. First of all, it's just so nice to have events again, outdoors, and people like meet in person. After 2 years, over the past 2 weeks, or the past 2 weekends, there have been so many amazing events, whether it's running in the 5K, the Yeek Festival, or there's just so many wonderful events. One of my favorite was seeing all of those kidpreneurs. We do something similar in Creel Park for the Spring Extravaganza, and it's just the future of our city and our future entrepreneurs is just one of my favorite things to see. First Dog Zion had an amazing time meeting all of the animals at Wilkerson Mill and meeting all of the kids at Southwest Arts Center. Shameless plug, you can follow Zion on his Instagram at ZionSon_. And there'll be some great videos of all of our adventures on the weekend. As Dr. Rao said, that local option sales tax town hall is important. There is another important event happening right before that. There are actually two events that are happening right before that. I won't mention them here, but I will say that you can find them at khalidcares.com or just texting the word Fulton to 33777. Lastly, tonight ends a very important Jewish holiday, Rosh Hashanah, so I want to say to our Jewish brothers and sisters, Shana Tova. And this month we are in the middle of National Hispanic Heritage Month. It actually is the 15th of September through the 15th of October. I wondered, I've never seen a month run between 2 months, but just a little political education. Those dates were chosen because many of Latin America's Independence Days happen between the 15th of September and the 15th of October. So I will say Feliz Me de la Hercinia Hispana. That's my poor Spanish for happy Hispanic Heritage Month. And just thank you for all of our Hispanic brothers and sisters who contribute to our incredible community. And with that, everyone be safe. There is a storm out on the ocean, and it is moving this old way. So everybody be safe this weekend. South Fulton forever. And with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Or adjourn. It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Gums. Councilmember Willis. Councilmember Sebastian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves. Aye. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
We are recessed at 8:15 p.m.